Good morning, everybody. It's great to see y'all again, even over the internet. Hope everybody's doing well. We've got a few updates this week, but it's probably going to be a shorter call than normal. One of the things we're really interested in is what's going on with y'all, and if any of you have heard any updates. I wanted to remind you our resource guide is still up at newtownmacon.com/COVID-19. You can also, several of you are way past what we're rolling out for other businesses, but last Friday we started up what we're calling the recovery coaching program. And basically, United Way, Community Foundation, and Knight Foundation asked us if we could offer some of the training we've been doing for y'all, specifically downtown businesses, if we could offer that region wide. So we've been basically enrolling people from all of Central Georgia, businesses and nonprofits, in specific classes around the programs we had y'all working on 2-3 weeks ago. So we're working through that. We're doing 3 or 4 of those sessions a day. And one good thing about it is we're getting a little bit wider perspective. And so as we talk to businesses across Central Georgia with different challenges, it's going to help us continue to enhance that resource guide and to update it with new information. So keep an eye there, and remember, every time you go there, you're going to get the latest information. Y'all probably know this because this is how we operate 24/7, 365, but all of Newtown staff is available to you. Call, text, or email. It's newtownmacon.com/staff, and you can pull up the list of all of us. And you can text or call or email any one of us you want to. And if we need help from one of the others to be able to answer your question, we'll handle that. But just get it started. You can call us anytime for help. And we're now offering that service throughout Central Georgia as well, to be able to talk through any challenges that people are having if they want to just talk one-on-one. Emily's still sending out the daily emails, and then whatever's in those daily emails, we're updating the resource guide to reflect. One of the things we're really interested in and hopeful about is that some of these benefit programs that you've applied for will actually start yielding results. Now, there's one, so the schedule for today, I'm going to toss it to James in just a minute, and he's going to talk a little bit about the pandemic unemployment programs. We mentioned to you before, and I'm sure you've seen in the news, that that the CARES Act changed the unemployment programs. It's supposed to increase the amount of money that people get every week, and it expands the type of people who are eligible for unemployment. So we have some updates there. And then we'd like to hear from you about any updates if you've had any feedback from either the Paycheck Protection Program or the Economic Injury Disaster Loan from the SBA. So if anyone's heard anything from those programs, we'd like to hear from you. And then Bethany is going to provide a couple of updates about some programs she's been researching and some changes that have happened, especially to the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. You know, we had that up to $10,000 advance, and now we've got some rules about that. And we'll end with questions and answers. So go ahead and in the chat box as we go, type any questions that you think of or any updates that you have. And if when we get to that section, I've got time, I'll call on you to share those with the group. So James, if you don't mind starting with pandemic unemployment.
Sure. Hey, good morning, everybody. A couple quick updates. A real interesting one, Steve mentioned, the Treasury Secretary, on the economic impact payments, the $1,200, reported that he expects 80 million Americans to get their deposit tomorrow. So the $1,200 should be hitting everybody's account who has a direct deposit tomorrow. Also tomorrow, they're going to open up, he said it's get your payment. I really think it's get my payment, which is where if you don't have direct deposit on file with the IRS, you can add that. And then he said you'd get your payments within a couple days after that. They're trying to do everything they can to keep from having to write checks, because they can apparently, which is just hard for me to believe, they can only write 5 million checks a week. I was like, golly, 5 million seems like a lot, but any event, So the good news is that money's supposed to hit tomorrow, which I know is going to be a huge relief. And then if you don't get tomorrow, then you can go into get my payment, and it's probably because you don't have direct deposit. You can add that. So good news there. The other thing is on the pandemic unemployment assistance, effective last Friday, the 10th, self-employed 1099 contract workers and 1099 gig workers can go in and file a claim. And so Emily's going to put, there's a departmental waiver detail, if you will, on that says step 1, step 2, step 3. Emily's going to put that in the resource guide this afternoon. What it basically says is it's going to take a while. What happens is self-employed folks go and they file a normal claim. It has to be reviewed, and then it has to be denied. So a physical person called an examiner is going to make a determination. And once they deny you, then you will get an email, and those emails won't start until April 22nd. And what that email is going to do is request a little bit more information, because what they don't have is any earnings history. And so they will ask you to provide 1099s or 10 copies of your 1040 or something like that. And once they get that, then they'll be able to make a determination, and then they will backdate it all the way back to week ending April 4th. So if it takes 3 weeks, you'll get 4 weeks all at once, and it'll be $600. The other good news is, as of yesterday, for the employees that are already getting unemployment, the little $365, this week, starting yesterday, they've added the $600 to it. So people this week that are W-2 people that are getting it should see the extra 600 roll in there. So they're moving forward. It's just, I just guess there's no other way. They got to have that manual step in there where a claims examiner makes a determination on each person's case, and they've got to be denied before they can take the next step. So at least there's a process now. Last week we were searching for a process and timelines. So I think we're moving forward. So I think those are the two updates, Josh. If anybody has any questions.
That's great. Could you give me an example? Like, who's somebody who would be looking to take advantage of the expanded eligibility? Somebody who could not get unemployment before, but who can now?
Like Scott. Scott and I talked yesterday a little bit. So he's gone ahead and applied for that. And so what it'll have to do is he's going to have to wait up to 3 weeks. So he applied yesterday. So that was the 13th. It could be 3 weeks before they determine, because he wouldn't be eligible, because the way the program works is you send in a little form each month or each quarter of who your employees are and how much they've made. And if you're self-employed, you're just not in that program. So they've got to go through and say, hey, oh yeah, Scott owns Travis Jean, so he's not really eligible. And once they do that, then they're going to come back and say, hey, Scott, we don't know how much money you made last year. Can you send us your 1040 tax return or something? And once all they got to do is determine that you're eligible for $1, and then the full 600 row. So it's not even prorated.
Oh, that's great. So really anybody who's a sole proprietor, or who is the business owner, who, business owners have myriad ways to compensate themselves, right? And typically that's not going to be on payroll. Sometimes, yes, but most of the time they're not on payroll. And so they wouldn't be eligible for unemployment except for this program. And so that's the good news. And the bad news is, because that compensation wasn't easily documented, it's going to take some human review to say, yes, this person did work for the business, and then put that through.
Yeah, it's also like our soul spot musicians. When Emily has the soul spots, all those folks are now eligible. So we were talking to Brian yesterday, all his summer camp counselors that are, anybody that out there that gets a 1099, just a contract worker, they're now eligible, which I think is a huge benefit, because that's been a whole segment of our society that's just not been been able to participate in some of these programs. So,
Musicians, artists, photographers, anybody who's paid on a contract basis for their labor, even if that is all they do for their entire living, you know, they're doing a lot of those contracts. They haven't been eligible for anything up till now. And same challenge, they've got to document that income, which is just not as simple as
right.
a W-2.
Yeah, it's just not something a computer can wake up and work through its channels to come up with an answer, more than likely.
Great. Well, I've got to. I hope y'all will add. Thank you, James. That's really helpful. I mean, at least there's a process. I mean, part of this is just, you know, it's very frustrating to know there's something out there and then not even be able to apply. And then it's a different level of frustration to have the applications done and not get a result back. So I've got a couple of updates. I'm guessing this is Will from Comics Plus. You have updates from BB&T. Do you mind unmuting yourself and sharing? Well, now it looks like he may have dropped off the call. Nope, nope, nope. There he is. Comics Plus. He may be having some technical difficulties. Felicia.
Posted in the chat that BB&T has a waiting list.
Okay. Oh, that's not good. And Felicia, you found out some information from Square and PayPal. Do you mind sharing that?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yep, gotcha.
Oh, yay. So, yes, I had a friend. She lives up north in a different state, and she messaged me and told me that Square sent her some information, letting her know that they have been approved as a lender for the PPP program. She went ahead and applied, and she's already received her funds. And this was like within 2 days. So I have a call to talk with her to see exactly what she had to do. So once I get more information on that, I reach out to one of you all to let you know so that you can pass that information along to others as well.
Oh man, that's incredible. That's hard to believe. Yeah, please share that information. I'll if that turns out to be an option, I'll get we'll get it up on the resource guide and share some step-by-step instructions. Thank you. And Scott, you asked how do we get this message out to the people that need it. I'm guessing you're talking about the pandemic unemployment program, and we will get the resource guide updated today with that information, so you can just click and share a link with anyone who needs it, and we'll have it top of the email today. And we're doing one of our specialized classes that we're offering as part of the Recovering Coaching Program is specific to unemployment. So we'll be going through everything about applying for that program. Like James said, he's going to fill out a test application so we can guide everyone in that RCP program. And Emily, if you don't mind throwing in the Calendly link, it's calendly.com, which is I can't say, calendly.com/Newtown-Macon. You can sign up for any of those classes, and we're just going to keep going for the next several weeks. So there's several classes every day you can sign up for if you need help with any of that stuff. And Will added some more stuff about BB&T, so that they've moved to a wait list and will not guarantee anything. So he's looking for other options. So far, we have not been able to find a single universal PPP application that everyone's eligible for that works. So, right now, the best advice we have is if you're if you're not at a bank that's offering PPP, your best option is to probably move your business account to a bank that is. And like Will's saying, that list of banks is starting to dwindle. So y'all, if you're thinking of any other questions or any other updates, please go ahead and throw them in the chat box. Otherwise, I'm going to turn it over to Bethany for some of the updates that you found out about.
Good morning, everybody. Don't have a whole lot to add. The one thing that we are hearing is that the anticipated turnaround. Many of us got our emergency economic disaster loan applications in at the start, basically, of 2 weeks ago. That the SBA is predicting a 3-week turnaround, so that maybe we'll start to see some action and some monies and accounts by next week. We have also seen some statements in the news that they're now limiting that cash advance to $1,000 per employee. We can't confirm that, but we do think in that language where they snuck in up to $10,000, they may be really parceling that out due to the high demand. So we hope that maybe next week when we all get together, we could have some conversations about what we're all learning from our SBA loan officers, or if deposits are starting to be made into our business bank accounts. If I can, I will pull up this one slide. See if I can find it here. Share just right here. For those of you who end up considering needing another small loan in light of all this, I just want to put this on your radar because the window to take advantage of this is longer than we realized. So the SBA offers, loan products besides the two that we've emphasized, the Paycheck Protection Program and the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. Those loans are great because they have portions of them that will be forgivable. But if you apply and close one of their typical loan products, an 7A loan, which is their standard loan program, which all the banks that you're working with now for the PPP program, they're all approved 7A lenders. The 504 loan, which is typically for real estate or can be used for heavy equipment, or micro loans, which are loans of $50,000 or less. If you close one of these loans prior to September 27th of this year, you will not have to pay. You will have 6 months of payment forgiven. The federal government is going to pay 6 months of your principal and interest toward these loan products. So if you have one and you weren't aware that this benefit exists for you, hopefully your lender has communicated that, but if they haven't, you need to make sure you capitalize on this opportunity. And if you do need another small loan, you might want to look into an SBA microloan in the months ahead, because the terms are good compared to most business loans, and you're going to get that 6 months forgiveness, principal and interest payment. The main provider right now that's active, and they're a national community development financial institution, and I'll type their, I'll put it in the chat here in a second. It's called ACCION, ACCION. They're the main ones doing these micro loans in the state of Georgia right now. And as we learn about some of the other folks, there are other lenders in the state who do them right now, but they're focused on disaster loans. But we'll continue to share that information just so you guys have some other options just in case in the months ahead. So those are the two main things about the SBA loans that I had, Josh.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah, and several people have put in the chat box, and I got an email this morning too. SBA has now announced nationally that the advance is capped at $1,000 per employee. So that's now official policy, and we'll get the resource guide updated to reflect that limit. It'd be great even with that limit if they would start depositing funds. so that's what we're still waiting on. And Will, through the Square link for the PPP app up in the chat too. I'll get that added to our PPP guide. That was really helpful. That's really all we've got as far as updates right now this week. Does anyone else have any other questions or comments they want to add for the group?
I was just going to say, Josh, that I filled up my PPP with Center State, and even though I have loans with them, I didn't have a couple of accounts. They required me to open one up just for Taste and See, even though I have one at Cadence. The main reason for that, though, is they really want the money separated for that particular loan, so that it's easier to track where the funds are going out of that particular accounts. And, you know, it was one of the things where I thought, I'm not another account. Like, I need another account. But at the same time, it will be a whole lot easier for me to verify where those funds were spent. And then I know you guys have probably covered it in all of your sessions about the forgiveness part with the EIDL and it counteracting the PPP, but really just make sure you emphasize that a lot as doing it with other people, because I know a lot of people are confused about the fact they think they can double dip, and the fact that if you get the EIDL, that is going to go against forgiveness from the PPP. So if you know, I just don't want people to get caught thinking they're going to be able to forgive more than they actually can, and then have to pay back something that they didn't realize they were going to have to pay back.
But Brian, isn't that just the advance as far as the PPP goes? It's not the loan. That's my
Right.
understanding. The advance, which for most people is probably just going to be a couple $1,000s anyway, right? On
Right.
the EIDL side. Okay.
Yeah. But my concern was more of the, you know, when it was the $10,000, you know, when people thought they were getting 10,000, you know, then they do the PPP and they think, well, you know, I get to forgive both of these, and all of a sudden they owe $10,000, you know, and as much as they're struggling, I just didn't want them to get caught, you know, with that as another debt.
Right. For sure.
That's really helpful. Thank you, Brian. And then Scott also mentioned in the check that even if you move your accounts to Cadence right now, they still will not consider you for a PPP loan. That policy is set bank by bank. You know, that may be good information for us to add to the PPP form. So if anyone has a different answer from a different bank, or better yet, if somebody gets a positive answer that if you open up an account with them, they will accept it. I think after a conversation with One South will fill out your application if you move your accounts there. So any updates you get in that regard would be really, really helpful. And yeah, like Brian just mentioned, you can get both the SBA EIDL advance, and you can get an SBA EIDL loan, and you can get a PPP loan. And but you've got to be careful to track the forgiveness on all those things, because they have to be spent on separate items to be forgivable. Great. And Scott just gave us another update that Square sent him an email saying they would automatically send an update when they were able to accept applications. So it sounds like, you know, Will's already got that link. They may be rolling it out to a segment of clients at a time so that they don't bog down their servers. Yeah. And Scott's filled out at least 12 different applications. That sucks. I wish you know, like I said earlier, we just have not found a single application that will work for everybody. It's on one hand, I was really excited that we were going to be using all these commercial bankers, because there are a lot more commercial bankers than there are SBA employees. So it seemed like this was going to move a lot faster. But then on the other hand, every bank's been able to set their own rules, and so it's just made it much, much more complicated, and there's not a single right answer. Yeah, and Scott's right. Scott just typed in the chat, don't put all your eggs in one basket. There's really no limit on how many of these applications you can fill out. You're not taking a loan or an advance until they offer it to you, right? So just filling out the application doesn't commit you to do anything. So yeah, I mean, fill out as many as you'd like. And the first one who comes back with a loan offer ready to close is the one I'd say to take. Anybody have any other questions or advice, updates? Has anyone gotten anything? Oh, and Dorothy is putting in that Robbins got approved yesterday for the SBA, but you have to have a business account. Bethany, do you mind shooting Robert Dial an email and checking on that? Because that would be super helpful, because I know a lot of our small businesses bank at Robbins. So we'll follow up on that. That's really great news. Great.
Hey, Josh.
Yes.
Josh, this is Matt.
Hey, Matt, how are you?
Yeah, just a quick update. The SBA is still the bottleneck. My son-in-law works for Cadence, and they're internally, they still are waiting for some guidance from the SBA, because the problem with these banks is they don't want to start making loans and then get hung out there because there's some paperwork they didn't fill out or some rule they didn't follow. So the SBA is still the bottleneck for getting a lot of these banks up and running. So I know from talking to several of the Cadence people, they are trying really hard to make this happen, but they're also frustrated because they're not getting the clarity of guidance from the SBA that their management is comfortable with to start sending cash out.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a whole set of challenges around the SBA, right? Like, because once the banks actually take these applications, they've got to pull loan numbers through a automated system with the SBA, and it wasn't designed to be able to pull millions of loan numbers at one time. So, I saw an email from Cadence the other day that they pulled, I don't remember, 1,000 loan numbers with $1.5 billion in authorization. So there's a bottleneck there. But then what you're talking about is a separate issue too, where because the guidance has been so limited, that they're not sure they can make these loans and not be breaking federal law doing it. And I mean that's a big deal. I mean there's
So
several.
it's easy to get frustrated with bankers, but I think most of the bankers within some limits are trying to do the right thing. And some are obviously, stonewalling, but I think most are trying to do the right thing, and they're probably as frustrated as some of you all are.
Yeah, there's a whole other challenge where the money to actually fund these loans is not coming from the government. So the banks are still relying on whatever sources of capital they had to make traditional loans to be able to fund these things. So there's also an issue there around, available to lend and the cost of those funds against the cost of this program. So yeah, banks are having some serious challenges to do this for us. Man, that's great news. So Robin's update is, I guess Scott called them while we were on the phone, and Robin says they can process them. That's great news. And they just, we'll throw a link up to the website. I'll update the PPP as soon as possible with that information. Okay. Well, I think that's all we've got for this morning. We'll get things. We'll get this webinar recorded and put up to YouTube as quick as we can. So that'll be another way you can share this information, Scott. Again, check out the resource guide. We'll be updating. This is really, really, really helpful. I hope this information is helping y'all help each other, but everything you share with us is also helping us help every business in Central Georgia. So please keep it coming. Feel free, whoever you talk to most on the Newtown staff, send us a text whenever you find out some new information so that we can make sure everybody has got access. We're all in this together. And I mean, if nothing else, we've realized how interdependent our whole economy is. Everybody depends on everybody else. So, I want each of you to succeed individually as entrepreneurs, but I want all of downtown and all of Central Georgia to succeed as well. So we need all of these businesses to open back up. So the more we can help each other, the better off we'll be. So we'll be doing this call again next week at 10 a.m. That's just for you downtown business owners. If there's something specific you want us to cover, please let us know. If not, we'll be searching through any updates and changes that we can share, just like we did today. You can go to calendly.com/NewtownMacon and register for any of our classes. If you have an idea about a class you'd like us to offer, we're here and ready to go. So give us a tip about something you need to know, and we'll build a curriculum and post a class. That'd be great for us to be able to know exactly what you need to, what kind of help you need to support what's going on specifically for you right now. Well, it was great to see y'all. See you all. I hope you have a great week, and we'll keep updating you as these programs evolve, and especially get this information up about Square, PayPal, and Robin's. Thank y'all for joining us, and thank you for everything you shared.